Have you ever felt like you've tried every gut healing diet out there? The low FODMAP diet, Paleo diet, gluten-free diet, low histamine diet, or even things like a candida cleanse, and you're still dealing with stubborn symptoms like bloating, fatigue, constipation, acne, eczema, PMS, mood swings, or a mystery list of symptoms that your doctors can't find a cause for? If you've just been relying on food restrictions to heal your gut, or hoping that cutting just one more food may finally fix your digestion, hormones, or skin, here is the truth. Food restrictions alone cannot heal your gut. Yes, I said it. A gut health diet may bring relief or reduce your symptoms, but if you have already reduced your diet and tried multiple elimination diets and it hasn't completely fixed all of your problems, then there is no mystery perfect diet out there waiting for you. The real issue isn't the food you're eating or not eating. It's the fact that you're not looking outside of diet to other root causes that are probably driving your symptoms. If you're only looking at food restrictions to try to address the root causes behind your gut problems, you're only scratching the surface. So in today's episode, I'm revealing why food restrictions may reduce your symptoms but not reverse your gut dysfunction, the biological reason that your food sensitivity list may actually be getting longer, the 4 overlooked root causes that actually stall gut healing, even on a quote unquote perfect diet, and the specific lab test you can do that can literally show you your specific path to healing. Healing should never feel like a never-ending guessing game of whack-a-mole. So if you're ready for real gut healing, not just symptom suppression or a guessing game, then this episode is for you. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. If you're currently trying endless supplements, doctor visits, and diet changes to heal your mystery symptoms, you are in the right place. We're here to solve the real root causes behind your gut, hormones, skin, sleep, and brain concerns. Literally anything and everything in your body. My name is Allison Jordan. I'm a functional medicine practitioner that has supported over 150 clients just like you to heal problems that no one has been able to fix. You don't need a perfect diet or a random supplement you found on Instagram to heal. You need a proven system that heals your whole body from the inside out. That's what I'm here to share with you, episode by episode. It's time to make health easy again. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health.
Yeah, just the way you've done it all is just so strategic and wise. And like, I kind of just hearing you say that, I have chills because I feel like I agree. It's like frustrating when you feel like you're floundering, trying to find all the information and paying so much per doctor visit, but being able to have a program where you don't have to pay for the doctor visit and you can like learn about it and figure it out has just, yeah, like I'm going to share this with everyone that I know. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you so much to our client who shared that wonderful review. They're inside of our program, the Better Belly Blueprint, and they added on group coaching. And that's actually a clip from one of our group coaching calls we did recently where we were working through some questions that she had. And I just loved so much what she shared that she gave us approval to share that on the podcast. And I hope that that gives people vision that there is a better way to heal out there. And I hope that today's podcast episode and the topic we're diving into on food restrictions gives you more insight into why food restrictions have not been healing you. But there is so much more, and it can be simpler and it can be cheaper than what you've been doing and more affordable and accessible. And that's what we've built inside of the Better Belly Blueprint. If that's at all intriguing and you want to go and look into it right now, you can go to betterbellytherapies.com/blueprint and check out our program. But also by listening to today's episode, you're going to get a taste of what you would otherwise find inside the program and why our clients are getting such good results when they haven't elsewhere. So without further ado, let's dive into today's topic. So you already listened to the intro. You probably are somebody who's been trying to work on healing your gut or healing symptoms that you associate with the gut. If you're familiar that your gut can drive other symptoms in your body like sleep issues or skin issues, etc. Maybe you haven't even thought of that and that is new information to you. But just to know, if you're trying to fix some problems in your body and you've been trying to use diet to do that and it hasn't worked, this episode is for you. So I've already talked about in the intro that the main argument and the main principle that I have built my entire clinic and practice around, and it's the principle I had to learn the hard way when trying to heal myself back in 2015, which is food restrictions alone cannot heal your gut. Now, that phrase is for people who've already tried dietary restrictions and have not gotten full, complete results, meaning your symptoms are just gone. There are people out there, they might seem like mystery to me. I don't know who these people are very often. Every now and again, I come across someone who said, yeah, I went gluten-free and all my symptoms went away that they were dealing with. Maybe it was some acne or eczema or brain fog or fatigue or whatever it is, bloating, constipation. And they go gluten-free and their symptoms go away. And I just smile and I'm like, great, that's awesome. Those people exist. They might not be you or me, but they exist out there that some very simple diet changes got them the results they need. If you're on a podcast, if you're searching podcasts though, you're most likely been dealing with some ongoing issues that even if it's gotten better over time through supplements or providers you've worked with, or just a lot of dietary alterations, you're only listening to this podcast and searching in unusual areas for information because you are looking for more. There's something that's still bothering you. And so that is what this episode is about. Food restrictions alone cannot heal your gut. By the time you get to that place where you've already tried food restrictions, you've kind of done a process of elimination test in some ways of not eliminating foods, but eliminating the concept of dietary restrictions helping you heal. So the reason now you're like, but why? And what do we do instead? That's the most important stuff. Why are food restrictions not actually helping you, or why are they not enough? And then what do we do instead to overcome that? And even is it reasonable that is food restrictions a part of even the healing journey? Do we abandon it entirely? So let's talk about this. When we are talking about food restrictions, why are they not helping? The main reason is that they are only one piece of the puzzle. And I say at most they're 20% of the healing pathway for someone who's really chronically ill and dietary changes have not already fixed their problems. You're like, well, 20%, how do we get there? I got there after years of studying what was making my clients sick and what made me sick, because I healed myself back in 2015 and 2017, kind of without having a solid plan. But I went back and reverse engineered. What did I do? What were the things I found that actually made a difference? And by the way, it wasn't some magic supplement or some magic diet. And then when I applied it to my clients, what were the themes? Because every client's different. Every body is different. So was there any pattern that I could find? And I found something that I have termed the 5 toxin trap. And inside the 5 toxin trap, there are 5 categories of things that keep people sick. And that's going to be autoimmune flares. That's going to be skin issues. That's going to be gut issues. It's going to be pretty much everything. It encompasses pretty much everything. Now, these 5 categories you've probably heard of before, but one of them is food sensitivities. So yes, there is a component of food sensitivities that is very real. And in my program, the Better Belly Blueprint, and when I work with clients, we identify if we need to do a food sensitivity test. There's a couple ways that we identify doing it, but the biggest thing being that we are considering if it needs to be done. And what's really important when you're doing food sensitivity testing is getting the right test. And we're going to get to the point where I'm going to talk about what tests I recommend. But yes, one of the parts of the 5 toxin trap is food sensitivity. So it is, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's something to consider. But at the end of the day, if you are building a bridge to get, I don't know, I live in Michigan, to get from the lower peninsula to the upper peninsula, a bridge that gets you 20% of the way there is not a bridge. It's just something that costs a lot of money to build that gets you nowhere. It's a dead end, right? So you might feel that way right now about your food restrictions, that it's leading you to a dead end of these are not working and what's going on, right? So then the question becomes, what are the 4 other things? What are the 4 other categories? And I go into a deep dive into this. I'm going to briefly go over them, but I go into a really deep dive into this in a free training that I've created because I talk about the 5 toxin traps so much that I just decided that instead of going over it every single podcast episode, which it wouldn't be every single one, but maybe 50% of them, it becomes relevant, maybe more. I just created a separate training. So you can go to betterbellytherapies.com/training or click the link in the show notes and learn about the 5 toxin trap and the most common reasons that people are failing in every single category. Because when I say these categories, most people's responses are, but I've already worked on those things. And I like really sympathize with that because I felt that way too when I was trying to heal myself of like, I've already worked on everything there is out there. What's going on? But the issue is that in every single category, there are big myths, big common pitfalls that pretty much every blog post and practitioner, like the majority of them are repeating these errors over and over again. And so that's why people are not getting results when they're trying to heal. But the 5 toxin trap, the other 4 elements are going to be pathogens, which is again a category. I'm not saying one specific one that everyone has if they have gut health issues. There's there's about 7. And I actually have a 7 pathogen series that I covered on this podcast. So if you want to go learn about them, you can go to episode 233, 234, 235, 236, 237, 238. I put the links in the show notes and they cover those 7 main pathogens clients are dealing with. And I also included 239, which is on Lyme disease. It's not like a main, it can be something. If that intrigues you, go listen to the episode. It will explain itself. But the big ones that we're having to deal with in our program are typically actually all the first 7 in that series. And so those are the pathogens you want to be testing for, looking for. And a lot of times if that category has failed you, like if pathogen, you're like, but I've already done things on the, about pathogens. You either haven't found all the pathogens there, like someone treated you for candida, but didn't look for H. pylori, or you looked for H. pylori, but it was a bad test. So a testing issue, or you did a protocol, but it wasn't a good protocol. And I don't fault you for not knowing any of those things. Maybe you didn't know the test was weak and not good at finding H. pylori. Maybe you didn't know that the protocol actually wasn't sufficient and wasn't going to get rid of candida. That's not your fault, but those can be some of the pitfalls. And I go through those more in depth inside of the training that I shared, betterbellytherapies.com/training. But one category is pathogens. Another category is poor digestion. Think stomach acid, bile, and pancreatic enzymes. And no, the solution to digestion is not a digestion protocol. You're not digesting poorly because you're deficient in a digestive enzyme. You're digesting poorly because those systems are offline, and there's a different root cause to all of those systems being offline, and there's a way to get them back online. Yeah, pretty killer stuff. We do that inside the Better Belly Blueprint. So pathogens, poor digestion, poor detox. Yeah, it's like really cool to talk about detox these days. Get a sauna. Yes, saunas can be powerful. Do a castor oil pack. Yep, castor oil packs can be powerful. I recommend it in our program. But there's a very important way to be thinking about how to detox. And I talk about common pitfalls and misunderstandings in detoxing that leads to really just unhelpful detox recommendations. But that's the 3rd category. Another one's going to be mineral deficiency and heavy metals. So some programs aren't talking about minerals. Some programs only talk about minerals and heavy metals. It's like an HTMA program. If you've been around the block, you've maybe seen those or even done one. And sure, cool. It's testing for your minerals and heavy metals, but then didn't deal with pathogens or it didn't, right? So it's like blotchy. And I talk in the training about the big issues that people run into of like why their mineral or heavy metal addressing or protocols weren't enough. And then that 5th one's food sensitivities. So those are the 5 categories. You might be like, wow, that's not rocket science. It's not. But the devil's in the details of how people are addressing every category. Is every category being sufficiently addressed in an in-depth way where every component of the category is being tested for with sufficiently strong sensitive tests with protocols that then are done in the right order and sufficient. So I dive into that on the training. But I wanted to give you guys, I'm not trying to gatekeep. And so I wanted to give you guys just a hint of what's inside of things to come inside that training and why food sensitivities matter. But literally if one of the other 4, if you aren't addressing all of the other 4 issues, you're not building that bridge. That's going to get you all the way from the lower peninsula to the upper peninsula in the state of Michigan. Sorry for y'all who aren't familiar with the state of Michigan, but Yeah, you want to address all 5. And not everybody's going to have all 5 be as important. Like some clients, I have a client right now, she just got testing done for her minerals and her heavy metals, and her mercury levels were sky high. But somebody else might not have high mercury levels. And the big thing is that we can't know which of those things are when someone comes into a program. There are hints. So when you join the Better Belly Blueprint, the first thing you do in module 1 is complete our lab chooser tool, which helps you identify what labs you uniquely need. Not everyone needs every single lab that I'm going to talk about on like today, or that we do inside of our program, that I've found to be helpful. But we can use things like your symptoms and your health history to help determine what labs are relevant to you. Have you done specific labs like these before? Can we use those? How recent do you need to have done those tests for them to be something you can still use? Things like that. So all the nitty-gritty details of how to know what labs you need to order that are relevant to you. That is literally the first step inside our program, because there's not like a single one size fits all pathway to healing, but there's patterns you can follow. So your symptoms can be a driver of helping identify like, that sounds like maybe mold. Let's make sure we get this type of testing done. That sounds like blank. Let's make sure we get this type of testing done. And that's what that lab chooser tool is literally there for in module 1 of our program, the Better Belly Blueprint. And if you're listening and you're like, okay, wait, I just heard Better Belly Blueprint. That's like a program or a course, but what if I want you to do that for me, Allison? In our VIP program, literally your first step on our kickoff call is to have a conversation where we help determine what labs you need. That's like literally the first step. So in both of the processes. So that is the 5 toxin trap. That's why food sensitivities cannot heal you, because you need all of them. And conversely, you can say just pathogen protocols can't heal you. Just, heavy metal detoxes can't heal you. Just, detoxing protocols can't heal you. You need all of them at the right amounts, addressing the right specific things for you, what you have, not what somebody else has. And that makes the difference. So let's get into testing. You're like, okay, so we've talked about the 5 toxins, and that there's a way. We don't want to just address all of them. I'm just going to do all the protocols. I don't know if I have mercury, but I'm going to act like I do. And then that's not helpful. Number 1, it's a waste of time and money. Like, it's just a waste. Number 2, if it's not something you're dealing with, it won't get you results. You're not going to be motivated to keep doing it because you're not going to be feeling better while you work on them. So I do not recommend the spray and pray method of just like trying everything under the sun. I do recommend testing, knowing what you are and are not dealing with. Those are valuable pieces of information. So the specific lab tests that I recommend, they're going to be number 1, the GI map test. This is a poop test. I do recommend it over other poop tests, but especially hospitals. I talk a lot about how hospital testing fails people, specifically when it comes to stool testing in my episode 233, the H. pylori episode, because that's a huge area. That's a pathogen that is commonly missed on a gob of tests, but especially hospital testing. But I also find that I have historically seen some issues with other tests from other providers where I have a client come to work with me. They said, I already have a Genova diagnostic test. I already have a gut zoomer test from Vibrant Wellness. And I'll say, let me look at it. I look at it, it says there's no H. pylori. I'm like, but you sound like you have H. pylori. Your symptoms are so H. pylori. Let's do a GI map. And sure enough, there's H. pylori on that GI map. We test them, or not we test them, we treat them. They go through our protocol. They have an early die-off and detox, which is a huge sign that, yes, this pathogen is alive and kicking and wants to ruin their life. And then to be light there, but the pathogen is alive and kicking, and yeah, it was good that we did that test. So that's why one of the reasons I like the GI map test is that I find it's appropriately sensitive for most of the markers on there, especially H. pylori, which is super, super important and really hard in my experience to get past certain milestones in healing without getting rid of it because it impacts stomach acid, and stomach acid is needed. Then like it's kind of like a domino effect. If you can't build your stomach acid up because of H. pylori, then you're going to have other issues that never resolve. That can be everything from copper toxicity to zinc imbalance to iron deficiency to poor digestion. So it's like you want to start working with things in a domino effect. And that domino effect starts with really sensitive testing for H. pylori. But it also looks at things like parasites and candida, et cetera. So GI map test, super, super foundational for our clients and in our program. And that's what I recommend for one of the tests. Next one would be organic acids test. I like to use the one by Mosaic Labs. I find that is sufficiently and effectively sensitive. That's, again, going to be the key there. And so it tests for things like mold, which is super important. And I'm seeing in more and more clients compared to when I started working with clients in 2018. I feel like the number of clients we have with mold is skyrocketing. And I think it's because it's mold sick people are not getting results in other programs that don't look for mold. And I think that those people it's that kind of group of people who are getting churned by the system, both of conventional medicine, but also in now functional medicine circles. Of course, as people about program practitioners they've worked with, et cetera. That's my personal theory of why we're seeing such a huge rise. But the organic acid test for mold. Now, if you've been learning about mold for a while, you might have heard of a test called the mycotox test. And there is a reason that I personally do not like to use the mycotoxin test as a first initial test to answer the question, is mold an issue for you? Is a mold one of your pathogens? And that is actually a fairly in-depth conversation. So it is a conversation we're going to be having in a couple months when we do another mold series in the fall. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely subscribe to the podcast so you get notifications, but you can also go to betterbellytherapies.com/subscribe, and you can subscribe to our email newsletter and get updates weekly when we have new episodes. So you'll see that episode in your inbox when it comes out, but we will be doing that episode then. But the organic acids test also tests for things like C. diff and candida. It's a much better test for candida. So the GI map pretty much only finds candida if it's super overgrown. It's one of the weakest markers on the GI map. And that's just something you need to know, like in terms of when we're testing wisely, that it's okay that a test is like a given test, a marker or some of the markers are not its strongest testing point. You just know that's not the best test. So if candida doesn't come up on a GI map, a lot of times it will show more clearly on a note. And if it's not on both of them, then I'm like, that's definitely like candida is not an issue for this person. Also, side note, candida is not a root cause. If you're not familiar with that, go listen to my episode 234, the candida episode. And it will explain everything about why candida is not a root cause and what you can do about it. And what the true root causes are, like why candida overgrows. Organic acid test covers toxins like oxalate excess, or it also covers things like your neurotransmitter balance and nutrient sufficiency, especially for water-soluble vitamins like B vitamins. So really love that test. Gives us tons of information. Not everyone needs to do it, but in our program, in Module 1, or in a kickoff call for the VIP program, we help you figure out what labs you need and if the organic acid test is relevant for you. And the next one, for food sensitivities, hands down the Zoomer test. There are so many reasons why this test is better than every other test out there that I've ever seen. So Tiny Health, Viome, MRT. This is so much better. It's like laughable, and it generally pisses me off that those other companies market and then waste my clients' money because they're not getting results. But if you want to learn more about that, I literally dive in deep with a ambassador from Vibrant Wellness, the company that provides that test, in episode 267, the best food sensitivity test for you. And we go into all the science of the Zoomer test and highly recommend it. But yes, we do dive into food sensitivities. There's permanent ones, there's temporary ones, and we go into which one. The test can literally show you which one's permanent, which ones are temporary. And a lot of times you're healing those temporary ones in our program. So a lot of our clients who've been on really restricted diets are reintroducing foods that they haven't eaten in years successfully, that they haven't been able to reintroduce successfully before because of our process. Another test is going to be the HTMA. It's a hair tissue mineral analysis. There are other ways to look at minerals in the body. Blood work is not typically one of the best ones. I go into that in some of our blood work episodes. I actually didn't grab one. There's so many. And I don't think I actually have a specific one that's like why iron. I do talk about like why I'm going to go grab the episode that talks about your doctor, why your doctor is reading your blood labs wrong. We're going to do that one. And I'm going to post it in the show notes. It's episode 66. And almost guaranteed I talk about in that episode specifically why mineral testing via blood work is really hit and miss. Now, there's some heavy metals that show up better in blood work, but I really like the affordability of an HTMA, and I really like them from the companies TEI or Trace Elements and ARL or Analytical Research Labs. Those two ones have really standard, like they're gold standard, they're the original HTMA lab providers, and there's a lot of people who just did knockoffs of that, and the testing is not as good, or the variables are very different. So those labs are really good to do evaluations of HTMAs with, or hair tissue mineral analysis. And then the last lab we're looking at is the Dutch test. And I typically recommend to only do the Dutch test, which is a urine-based test, for if you have hormone symptoms. It's the last lab that I would have any of my clients spend money on. It's the lab out of the ones I just listed that the fewest number of people need to order. It's valuable for mainly 1 to 2 markers, which is kind of intense. I think it's an interesting test, but there's limitations on what it can do to actually help you know what to do to heal. And I'm doing a deep dive into this lab literally in like 3 or 4 weeks. It'll be releasing. So again, if you want to hear that, be sure to subscribe to the podcast, but also you could go to betterbellytherapies.com/subscribe and get our weekly podcast emails to hear what's happening on the podcast, and know exactly when that episode's coming out. So all of these labs, we literally teach you how, like, which ones you specific need in Module 1, but also how to analyze them yourself, and then how to create customized protocols using templates that you then modify based off of your specific lab results. So you're not doing you're not doing protocols that other people need to do that you don't specifically need to do, and you're even modifying what's inside of them sometimes based on your lab results. And we teach you how to do all of that inside of the Better Belly Blueprint. That is a course where you can do add-on coaching, group coaching if you want to get support, and basically learn all of these things and get a very specific customized plan and a pathway to healing that there's not a lot of guesswork involved. And by not a lot, I mean like none. And you get healing, you get results. So you can go to betterbellytherapies.com/training if you want to learn more about how the Better Belly Blueprint is going to help you deal with that 5 toxin trap, and learn how you can join and even get an extra special 24-hour bonus when you join that betterbellytherapies.com/training and you register for the training. You get a special 24-hour bonus where you can join and get free coaching when you join. That's going on right now. It might not be that case in the future, but if you join now, be sure to keep an eye out for that free 3 months of group coaching you can join if you join within 24 hours of registering. So that is it's a pathway that's replicatable. It's not the same pathway for everybody in terms of exactly what you need to address and what protocols you need, but it's the same pathway of find the testing you need, do that testing, analyze these labs well. That can sometimes be an issue when you're working with other practitioners, is they're not addressing certain markers, or they're addressing them poorly. That's like a whole other thing where they just see a marker's low and they're like, oh, we're just going to give you this supplement that'll fix it. Well, no, that's actually not going to giving a digestive enzyme isn't going to fix low digestive markers. You need to actually fix the root cause underneath it. And while there can be some short-term value to giving someone digestive enzymes to ameliorate an issue, you can you actually always want to be looking at how do we get the body to digest on its own, because it will always digest better than any digestive supplement that you can do, as long as that process is working inside the body. So that is it. I want to set you free from overanalyzing your food, going on constant witch hunts for what foods are causing your symptoms. It's not the food. At least it's not only the food. Are you relieved? I hope you're relieved. There's more, and there's ways to find it with very specific testing, not guessing, and then quickly getting results. So if you're ready to heal your body or learn more about this, go to betterbellytherapies.com/training, learn how the process works in our program, and join. Or if you're wanting me to do the process for you, meaning instead of you going through videos to complete the lab chooser tool or learn how to analyze your own labs and modify your protocols, you just want somebody else to do it for you, you can join as a VIP client by going to betterbellytherapies.com/VIP. Learn about VIP there, how much it costs, what the process is like, how many calls are included, all the things that people want to know about. And then you can join there. So go to betterbellytherapies.com/VIP if that is what you're wanting, or click the link in the show notes. So I hope that this provided some clarity and some freedom and some ideas of what to be actually looking into next. And if it's the right next step for you, I would love, love, love to see you in one of our programs, the Better Belly Blueprint or Better Belly VIP, where we can help you find your root causes and quickly and systematically just go through them and actually deal with them and be free from your symptoms. So that is it for today. I will see you guys next week.
Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening, you can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of, and you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.